orders, and it was published in the Saudi Gazette. They didn't know I was from Women for the Wall. They thought I was with Women of the Wall. And the title of the picture was Haredi activist screaming at women, Haredi men screaming at Women of the Wall activist. And of course, the Saudi Gazette titles this picture, "This is how Israel treats its Jews." It's women. No, this is how Israel treats its women. Basically, when these types of things happen, it makes a really terrible name for Israel. Not just for, I mean, it's good fodder for anti-Semitism also. And it's good fodder for distancing people from the state of Israel. Right now, the Pew Report shows that that Jewry in America is in a really difficult state right now, with the biggest rate of assimilation. And studies have shown that connection to Israel is actually one of the things that makes people connect to Judaism the most, and actually decreases the rate of intermarriage, which is why actually birthright has a lot of success. People that go on birthright actually are much more likely to marry Jews. And different things like that. And because of the situation in the Jewish community, the Jewish world right now, it's very important to not drive a wedge between Israel and American Jews and Jews in general, because Israel is what the world Jewry really needs right now. However, we have heard from many people that places where Anna Hoffman spoke, and it said, stop supporting Israel. Do not send your money to Israel. Israel is a place without religious freedom. It's a place without women's rights. We need your money to stop fight this, to fight against Israel, the current situation in Israel. We're trying to change Israel. They said, we have quotes from them saying, our goal is much broader than just the Kotel. We're trying to change Israel. So by doing that, that puts a bad taste in people's mouth about Israel. And that's really not okay. You can have issues with what's going on in Israel, but there's other ways to do it, to stand up against it. Take it to the Knesset, take it to the Supreme Court, but don't trash talk Israel internationally, especially at this right now. And don't use the Kotel, a place that has always been signified unity of the Jewish people, a place where people from all different spectrums of religious, of the Orthodox, of Judaism come, and people, not even Jewish people, come from all over the world to come to the Kotel to connect to God and to connect to thousands of years of tradition. This is a place, before Israel had a state flag, and the Kotel was our flag. And the Kotel should not be used to promote political agendas. If you have a political agenda, that's fine. I support people fighting for political agendas, but don't use the Kotel for that. Don't make it a center of controversy and fighting. So, as I said, like we've showed these people how they're acting inappropriately, and the first month, as I said, there were some chairs and some rocks and some other nonsense thrown. The second month, there were that we were in action. There were 3 eggs, raw eggs thrown at Women on the Wall. The third month, there was 1 egg. The fourth month, there was some screaming and some whistles. And the fifth month, there was like a few whistles and a little screaming. The sixth month, there was like no whistles and some screaming. The seventh month, there was no screaming and just a little glares. This past month, the Women on the Wall complained that a guy was blowing bubbles at them. So,
okay.
we've been actively fighting. I mean, the people that have come every single Rosh Chodesh with whistles, we've gone up to them and said, please put away your whistles. And the same women that told us, no, we're being like Pinchas, we're defending God's honor. They now put away their whistles. Now they understand the logic and what we're talking about. And that's, I guess, the biggest success a Women for the Wall has, and we're definitely continuing to try to make sure that we would like to even stop the glares. You know, like last month, actually, I was so happy about this. Some women who came because they were opposed to what Women on the Wall were doing, they went over to the Women on the Wall, and instead of, they weren't yelling at them, they weren't screaming, they weren't nothing, they just were like, they were saying, asking, getting into conversations with them, questioning them, like, why are you doing this? Like, why do you feel a need to do something that we found disturbing at the Kotel? It was definitely a peaceful, respectful discussion. I took pictures of it because I was so touched by it. You know, to go from the violence that they've been experiencing to positive discussion, that is really what needs to be happening. And so that's what we've accomplished so far. And now, because of this, when I spoke at the GA, a lot of people have, when they heard what I had to say, that this is not just about women's rights or religious freedom, because first of all, the Women of the Wall do trample on other people's freedom, and second of all, if they were a group of feminists, they would care about what other women are feeling, and not discount us. When we try to talk to them, they said they refused. When we tried to appear on panels with them, they said the reason why they refused to appear on a panel with us is because They refuse to engage in things that pit women against women. We're not trying to pit women against women, we're trying to talk. We're trying to engage in dialogue because, as I said, you can't solve issues without dialogue. But they refuse, they try to silence us. When we appeared at the GA, when it was announced publicly that Anat Hoffman, Natan Sharansky, Elisa Levy, and I would be appearing on the podium together, Women of the Wall publicly announced that they're speaking at the GA. They talked about Natan Sharansky and Elisa Levy and Women of the Wall. They didn't mention me. We said, why won't you even mention that I would appear? They're like, we refuse to mention your name because we disagree with you. So how can someone claim to be feminist when they don't want to mention someone else's views? And they constantly say that we were trying to shut them up and get them to go away, and that we encourage violence. Actually, we're considering actually a lawsuit because they have slandered us. They said that we have instigated violence against them. There was recently a woman named Peggy Sidor, who was a very unknown member of Women of the Wall. 2 months ago, after there was silence at the Kotel, after it was peaceful and quiet, I spoke to one of the reporters who was there, and I said, "So what do you think about the Kotel?" He said, "It's a non-story now." That's really what we want. We want it to be a non-story. It shouldn't be something that's on the international media. It shouldn't be on any media at all. If Women of the Wall want to come, okay, we do have problems with what they're doing, but even worse is when it's broadcast internationally. So we're working hard to make it be a non-story. So when this man says, when this reporter told me it's a non-story, I'm not going to come back. Okay. The next day, this lady Peggy Sidor, her house gets graffitied. And of course, her hallway of her house. This is the same woman that like a few days after we brought women to the Kotel the first time, her house got graffitied also the previous time. And both times they blamed the Haredi rabbis. There was no proof who did it. Honestly, it could have been a lunatic. It could have been someone on their side trying to get attention for them, trying to gain sympathy for them. Because the only people, let's put it this way, if I were the